Have you ever seen a fortress that looks exactly like a giant battleship made of concrete? In the middle of the sea near Manila Bay in the Philippines, there stands one of the strangest military structures ever built, Fort Drum. People call it the concrete battleship, but this wasn't always a fortress. Originally, it was a small rocky island known as El Fraile Island. In 1909, the United States decided to turn this island into an unstoppable coastal defense fort to guard the entrance to Manila Bay. What they did next was extraordinary. Engineers literally cut the entire island flat, removing the top and reshaping it into the foundation of a massive military fortress. Between 1910 and 1918, the island was transformed into a gigantic reinforced concrete structure, 350 feet long and 144 feet wide. Its roof was protected by 20 feet of reinforced concrete, while the walls were up to 36 feet thick. At the time, this made Fort Drum almost impossible to destroy with naval gunfire. On top of the fortress were two massive rotating gun turrets, armed with 14-inch coastal guns, capable of firing shells nearly 19,200 yards away. Inside, the fortress functioned like a self-contained military base. It had power generators, water distillation systems, an ice plant, storage rooms, command offices, and barracks for hundreds of soldiers. Everything needed for long-term defense. But the real test came during World War II. In 1942, Japanese forces launched intense bombing and artillery attacks on Fort Drum. For months, shells and bombs rained down on the fortress. Yet incredibly, the structure held strong, and only 5 American soldiers were wounded. Eventually, after the fall of Corregidor Island, the defenders were ordered to destroy their guns and surrender. But the story didn't end there. In 1945, American forces returned to retake the fortress from Japanese troops who had occupied it. Instead of a direct assault, they came up with a deadly plan. Engineers pumped over 2,200 gallons of fuel into the fortress through its ventilation shafts, and then detonated it with 600 pounds of TNT. At first, the explosion seemed small, but moments later, a massive blast erupted inside the fortress, turning it into a blazing inferno. Days later, when soldiers finally entered the structure, they found dozens of Japanese soldiers who had been trapped inside. Remarkably, only 3 American soldiers were slightly wounded during the entire operation. Today, Fort Drum remains one of the most unusual military fortresses ever built, a structure that truly earned its nickname, the concrete battleship.